During this period, Loki Borough made 0 follow-up visits. Loki Borough checked for residents with 183 workers. Of those workers, there were 0 non-compliant, 0 no proof of residence, 0 out of area, 0 invalid ID. There were 0 new MCIDC signs delivered. And then we have some waiver information as well. The following verified local labor exemption requests were processed in November 2024. St. John Fisher University, Wilcox Building Supplies, price point differential. Wilcox Building Specialties will be performing a varied scope of work on the library project at St. John Fisher University. Benefits for this project were approved in June of 2024, well after the project began construction. The general contractor on the project, Hamilton Stern, was unaware the project would be receiving MCIDC benefits or was expected to abide by a local labor policy. They bid out specialty installs of visual display units, toilet, bath, and laundry accessories, emergency cabinets, fire protection cabinets, and Fenelon lockers back in September of 2023. They received 3 quotes altogether, with only Wilcox able to perform the full scope for a more competitive price. The local contractor that provided a full competitive quote was 48.68% higher than Wilcox. Wilcox Building Specialties is based out of Ithaca, New York, and will only have 2 workers on the project to perform this scope. That's all I have. If anyone has any questions?
Any questions for Joe? Joe, thank you. We're sorry that we can't offer you any lunch today.
Oh, it's okay. I'm off to more inspection, so.
Okay.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Anna, I think you're in for Greg.
Yes, I'm standing in for Greg. Greg's out today. So I have a few notes here about our current financial report. Cash is down at the moment due to net treasury investment activity year to date. On the microloan reimbursements receivable line, you see the amount submitted to ARPA for reimbursement of funds used for the microloan funding as well as for microloan expenses. $248,526 worth of vouchers have been submitted but not yet paid. On the interest income banks line, you see interest from banks, $24,300, accrued interest earned on investments, which is $80,100, and then cash interest received on investments at $3,500. Other revenue includes bond fee income from the Eugenio and St. John Fisher bonds, as well as application fee income of $3,500 and microloan closing fees of $3,500. And actual expenses are at $258,000 over budget right now due to the following items that have not been budgeted for. $236,000 worth of microloan bad debt expenses, $11,000 of microloan accounting fees, and $7,000 of microloan administrative expenses. And I want to thank Robin and Allison, the whole staff here, for keeping the trains running on time while I was out for the past month. Any questions about our financial?
Tony, explain the bad debt.
It's an allowance.
Okay.
We had one go down from 50. I don't think anyone else has defaulted at this point.
Right, it's just the
reserve for.
yeah,
It's reserves,
thank
the
you.
allowance.
Yeah. Not, that much has not been defaulted. Right.
But we're booking a reserve.
Yes.
15%.
So
15, I think.
15, yeah.
the microloan receivables, is that like the ARPA funds at 2.2 million? Is that gonna be received this year? Or is that like over time?
Yeah,
Revenue coming back from
that includes all of the revenue that they send back to us, that the county sends back to us.
Got it.
Yep, we voucher for it.
But any questions for Anna?
No.
What's that?
When do they pay?
So every month they submit a voucher for any loans that we funded and any expenses that we have, and sometimes they're 2 months behind, so it can be lagging, but.
So
usually,
we should get the 2.2 million
yeah.
soon?
Well, we've gotten some of that so far.
Right.
Okay, I
Yep.
got you.
When's our deadline to spend all the money?
End of 2026.
26.
We're ahead.
So we're ahead.
We're ahead of
Yeah.
the game, yep.
Any questions for him? We need to, get a motion to go into executive session, talk about some loans here.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. There's a motion, to approve the $110,000, SBA 504 commercial mortgage for the purpose of refinancing two short-term notes used to purchase the property located in the city of Rochester.
Joe?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstention.
And one abstention.
Abstention down there? Okay.
The other loan to the nameless company in the same industry, we just found out this morning about a potential and likely environmental issue. There was a phase 2 done back about 7 years ago. They did some borings, took some samples, didn't test all the samples they took for some reason. Different environmental company is looking at it now, and between their concern and the bank's internal people who looked at it, there was some concern that additional borings will lead to levels that are now above the required level, which require automatic reporting. So you can't just say, oh, it's bad, let's not tell anyone. If it's bad, everyone knows. And the cleanup was, could be massive, 50, 100,000, depending on how bad it is.
Did they say what it was for? Was it the tanks leaking or something from back in the day, or was it oil not disposed of correctly, or?
Well, it's spillage or, I mean, back in the 60s, you know, what they do, let's just dump it. Put it in that big barrel that's 50 years old and rusted out with holes in it. So that, unfortunately, a lot of times, places that have been an auto repair place for a long time, that's gonna happen with, especially when it goes back into the 60s and stuff. I think I remember in the 80s, all of a sudden they came out with this super fun stuff, and then it became a real big deal, but I wasn't banking in the 60s and 70s, but I imagine if this was just coming up in the 80s, 60s and 70s was the Wild West.
This
in
is their
terms of
property,
environmental.
right, Tom? This is their property?
This is the property they're on right now,
And they won't be able to do anything to it until it gets,
at least not from a bank lending, not from bank or government lending. You know,
They'd have to get somebody a private mortgage or somebody that's just gonna pay cash for it.
yeah. Yeah, so we just, I mean, something could trigger where the fears were false, but at this point, we're not expecting to be able to do this, but if something good breaks, we'll come back with it, but at this point, the deal itself is done.
well, if there's no more questions for Tony, we're gonna skip to, Anna right here, and, this is the modernization plan.
Yeah, thank you, Marie.
Let's hope that this is some good news here.
It is, and it's really teeing up, what's bound to be a very productive exercise over the course of the next few months, and I want to thank staff for their hard work in analyzing our operations and our programs and coming to me with suggestions and ideas regarding the modernization plan while I was out. They really did the heavy lifting, and I'm just here to kind of give you a high-level overview, and then we can have some dialogue and back and forth with questions. This is really a plan to revamp our existing programs. Many of our incentive programs, most of our incentive programs have been in existence since, gosh, the late 90s, and a lot about our local economy and the broader economic trends have shifted, and the needs of the small business community have shifted a lot since that time. We've noticed that, for instance, in the case of our rebate programs, a lot of the same businesses keep coming back to MCIDC to take advantage of those incentives, and those programs are not necessarily incentivizing activity that wouldn't already take place in the local business community. We want to make sure that our programs, our limited resources are reaching businesses that need them the most and helping to stimulate job creation and economic activity that wouldn't otherwise take place but for MCIDC's support and resources. And we wanna harness some of the momentum that we've generated with our microloan program, the relationships that we've cultivated in the micro entrepreneurship community, and take that to the next level. So phase one is slated to, get underway through 2025 and will include a revamp of our existing incentive programs to simplify them and place limitations on the businesses that take advantage of the programs. So a cap on the number of times you can come back to MCIDC seeking a cash rebate for an equipment purchase, for example. We would like to better define our revolving loan fund. For a long time, we've had a revolving loan fund that has existed really without any specifically defined parameters. So it's been tricky for staff to identify projects that would be good candidates for revolving loan fund support. And the revolving loan fund for a long time was lacking in resources, and now that we've successfully secured a couple of bonds this past year, we're back in a place where our revolving loan fund has some resources. We wanna develop it into a tool that we can promote when we're out meeting with businesses, and that it's not so gray, I suppose. For example, specific interest rates, and specific loan amounts, rather than, oh, we can give you $500,000 without an interest, I'm thinking about the Taylor Square project. We gave them $500,000 with, 0% interest, or was it 1% rate of interest?
It was 1%,
Yeah.
It was a construction loan.
It was a construction
So at
loan.
least
It
we're
was a
getting
great
some good
project,
effort
but it
for
was
you.
essentially a grant, and we wanna move away from those types of transactions.
Well, eventually it'll be repaid, but I won't think I'll be on the planet anymore, but.
Right,
35 years after
right.
construction's done.
Very slowly.
Which deal was that you're talking?
It was Taylor's, Hickey Freeman.
The Hickey Freeman
Oh, yeah.
redevelopment,
Okay.
so building some housing in the Hickey Freeman building, workforce housing. It's a great project, but it really led the revolving loan fund from being in a position to support other projects.
Well, that's because we disguised it as a loan, but it was really a grant.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
We just don't get into that anymore.
Right, and we don't wanna set expectations in the community that we can continue to accommodate projects like that and requests like that, so, but there is a need for a revolving loan fund, and
We sort of had a gun to our head too, right, with the city?
we kinda did,
It was
yeah,
a combination.
that's right,
We'll stay away from that.
yes. We will be formally documenting parameters for the revolving loan fund and focus on community need. And we'll be working with all of you as members of our board on that to solicit ideas and input. And then furthermore, in 2025, we'll be evaluating our workforce development programs and determining what programs are truly effective and impactful and what programs represent perhaps some duplication. You might be aware that your sister board, Comida, has a workforce development fund, and historically since 2022 has funded a number of workforce development programs in the community, some of which are the same as MCIDC's funded programs or have similar goals. So we're gonna be doing an assessment, inventorying all of our various workforce development programs and creating a business plan as to how can Monroe County Economic Development best shore up the workforce development ecosystem in the county and make sure that we're not duplicating efforts between Comida and MCIDC, and other organizations in the community. And then finally, we are going to develop a marketing plan for the issuance of our tax exempt bonds. This past year, we had a great lunch and learn with a number of charter school, representatives. We brought them into this room and had a discussion about MCIDC's capabilities around tax exempt bond issuance. We wanna do more, outreach along those lines with more diverse, not-for-profit organizations. We'd also like to make some inroads in cultivating relationships with new and larger nonprofit organizations. For example, RIT would be great if we could cultivate a business relationship with RIT around some of their projects that they've got in their pipeline. So a marketing plan with specific goals for myself and staff, to get the word out about our bond capabilities. And I think particularly as interest rates are starting to ratchet down just ever so slightly, maybe there will be some more bond-related activity in the not-too-distant future. So that's phase one occurring through 2025. Into 2026 and beyond, 2026, as you know, is when the ARPA funds have to be expended, so the microloan fund will, for all intents and purposes, be kind of sunsetted, but we will be moving into a new phase of the microloan fund where all of those dollars belong to MCIDC and we can make the program more of our own. So we will look to developing an enhanced microloan fund, looking at loans in the $50,000 to $100,000 range, and perhaps couple that with the new 2.0 version of the revolving loan fund. We will be continuing to reassess our incentive programs, so taking the new iteration of our programs that we developed in 2025, looking at them, assessing their effectiveness, and going from there, maybe developing some new programs. Enhancing our strategic partnerships and evaluating, which agencies are doing what with what programs. Is there a way that we can partner with certain organizations strategically, such as BOCES and Campus Rock, and form new partnerships as needed? And that's really the high-level synopsis of MCIDC modernization. And again, I want to thank Robin and Allison and Tony and Craig and Chad and everybody here for putting their thinking caps on and helping generate some of these ideas. I'd love to open it up for some discussion, and we can certainly get into the weeds about what is and what is not working around some of our incentive programs.
My first thought is this is a great endeavor to go down. It's something we do with our grant programs every 3 years with the rate case. And then my second thought is just whatever more we can do to support workforce development, we should. To me, the two biggest factors that are gonna stop growth in New York over the next 5, 10, 15 years are electric capacity, which I'm working on, and then workforce, cause Micron, even Fairlife, where are these people gonna come from without cannibalizing current industry? And I think it's, focusing on those orgs that are truly doing the training, like an RTMA that has the apprenticeships and on-the-job training, as opposed to I think Rochester Works is a great organization, but they don't do any real job training. They're soft skills and kind of a job board. So trying to find more organizations doing that, RTMA style, or the actual hands-on. Cause and then, maybe there's a way to partner with MCC with, the $25 million from the state and things of that on it too.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, that's really, are you talking about the workforce?
Yeah, the workforce.
Yeah. The Rochester Works is gonna be putting their, their career center into MCC's downtown campus at the Forward Center. And in fact, the county's supporting that via our capital improvement planning process. So it's a great example of like centralizing workforce development programs downtown and different organizations working collaboratively with one another. So that's a great idea.
I have a question. So this might be out of our scope, and tell me if it is, but I'm on the board of an organization called the Education Success Foundation, and they have a three, Encompass and a few other things underneath them. And one of the biggest issues that comes up in a lot of the discussions is, for example, the kids that are in Encompass, it's all kids in the city school districts and it's after-school programming, but one of the major themes that comes up is their at-home housing is, in some cases, just not suitable for learning, for a lot of, comfortable environments, and a lot of it's the actual quality of the actual house it is, like whether it's windows or a roof so I just wonder if we ever had a program that would incentivize landlords to renovate houses. I guess we're Monroe County, but the city of Rochester seems to be the most.
I'm glad you brought that up because, also as Joe was talking, I was thinking about the fact that our workforce needs quality housing, and one of the problems that we're trying to tackle in whatever way we can through COMIDA is figuring out what role should COMIDA be playing in supporting the development of new housing. It's part and parcel with workforce. And actually, some breaking news, I suppose, is that the legislature, in passing the budget last night, they also passed, the county is moving $5.1 million of ARPA funds into the Department of Planning and Development. Through our Community Development Division, we have some programs that we fund to a limited extent through HUD, through CDBG dollars, that do support landlord renovations of rental housing for income eligible renters, as well as home improvements for income eligible homeowners, some first time home buyer grants, as well as what we call our acquisition rehab resale program, where we, through the county, we partner with a nonprofit, we buy foreclosures and then redevelop them and sell them to first time home buyers. But, so these are all, they sound like great programs, but we've had very meager resources to support them through the years. So really, like through acquisition rehab, we maybe do 2 houses a year because we're getting outbid by flippers in the marketplace. Our first time home buyer program, we don't have a ton of resources. The wait list to get one of those grants is miles long. So anyhow, into the next year and 2026, when the ARPA funds have to be fully expended, we're going to be amplifying those programs. And another factor is that through the county's CDBG grant, we can only support projects in suburban Monroe County, but now that we're moving ARPA fiscal recovery funds into the programs, we're actually going to be able to include the city and cover the city. So we're going to be, we don't yet know how we're going to staff this effort. We're probably going to need to bring in some people and additional resources internally to grow those programs, but that's happening. It's going to get underway, and hopefully it will be pretty impactful. And then at the same time,
that's a county you're talking about that's doing that, or are you talking MCIDC?
yes, the county, yes. So, our Community Development Division refers to the programs as our Home Reinvestment Partnership programs. I can send you some more information that you can share with your colleagues on the Education Success Foundation grant, on that board. But, so that's getting underway, and then at the same time, on the COMIDA side, we're trying to embark on a housing study. We want to contract with a consultant to help guide COMIDA in how it should incentivize the development of new housing, because we really need more housing inventory countywide, across every income bracket, and that's important. And that's perhaps something that will come into focus as part of our modernization initiative, if we're looking at our revolving loan fund, maybe there are affordable housing projects that we can get behind and supportive of. Perhaps there are smaller there are landlords that operate as LLCs and they rent out to people at certain incomes, and perhaps we can work with those business owners to help them improve their housing inventory. But housing is a crucial slice of the economic pie in Monroe County, and if we're not
Would it be
cracking that
feasible,
code.
would it be feasible for us to just invite community development in and then have them give us an overview? Of,
yeah.
what they're doing in terms of housing and,
Oh, yeah.
and what we might hope to do. And I don't know, you all recall we built these houses before.
Yes, that's right. Acquisition rehab.
With our money and funding, acquisition or rehab and stuff like that. Now, whether that ever gets undertaken again, it would take, for us to understand, just what that is in terms of housing, to your point, your question. And, community development might already have plans doing that because, a lot of their money comes from the federal government and they have to plan way out. In terms of a lot of the projects that they're gonna do. So it might be good, maybe down the line, the director comes down here and gives us a presentation and stuff like that. And then maybe you could sit with her and figure out how, we could work together on some of this stuff here.
So, just one comment. To me, one of the things we should also be careful of is that we don't have a plethora of these small little individual programs. I mean, that was a good example, right? We did a couple of houses. And so to me, you gotta start with, okay, what's the objective of MCIDC?
Right.
And we don't wanna be doing things that other agencies and organizations are already doing. Let's focus on what we're supposed to be. And at least to me, the main thing is to use our resources to promote business development and the workers to go with that.
Right.
So that's what I worry about a little bit.
Okay.
But that's just my perspective.
So,
My other question on the tax exempt financing. Anybody that does that either has to go through us or through the dorm authority?
Correct, yeah, so to qualify for tax exempt financing, you have to go through a qualified issuer. MCIDC is one, DASNY is our sort of largest other competitor in this space.
And is that it? There's no.
Well, obviously municipalities can issue directly. If you're a not-for-profit, you can issue debt directly, but it's taxable. You don't get the benefit of the tax exemption unless you go through MCIDC or DASNY. There's also out-of-state issuers that are nationwide that are also potentially competing.
Can we, like we do with 504s now, go out of county to other counties?
Like the national issuers can. Monroe County can't really compete meaningfully in other counties because you can't offer the tax exemption, the mortgage reporting tax exemption in other counties.
Okay.
So you can't really compete meaningfully, to be honest. Plus, every one of your surrounding counties will have their own version of MCIDC.
Okay. So when we think of marketing on that end of things, tax exempt bonds.
Yep.
We gotta be out promoting people to go use tax exempt bonds, is that the idea?
Correct, making sure that everyone's aware of the benefits that we can offer. You can close a bank loan faster, but tax exempt bonds have different benefits to them as well. So longer amortization, lower interest rate, waiving of the mortgage reporting tax. So I think obviously the sophisticated borrowers in the county are well aware, right? The hospitals, the universities, they're well aware. But it's the other entities, you know, maybe charter schools, maybe social service organizations, you know, Al Siegel and others that could be targets for us to go after and just make sure that they're aware of what we can offer.
El Siegel has bonds.
They do, yeah.
Right, so
But-
developing a coherent business development plan or strategy
Yeah,
to develop
all in favor of that.
relationships with those types of organizations will be a priority in the coming year. You know, I'll wanna reach out to the executives at those various organizations and, you know, set up meetings and just have friendly conversations and make sure they know who we are and what we can do, and, perhaps they'll wanna work with us.
So understanding that DASNY is competing, right? They have their own capital grants program, and they usually have more recently been trying to encourage people who they give capital grants to go through DASNY as an issuer. So, understanding that there are, you know, there's been one example of a recent, not-for-profit that had approached MCIDC, but also talked to DASNY as well, and DASNY.
They were strong-armed.
They were encouraged, I'll use the word encouraged, by DASNY, through the capital grant process to go through DASNY.
Who was that?
So that was my question with DASNY, though, is like, do they have a business development arm that we kind of run into ever, or a marketing arm that like we compete with, that we can use as a template, but just, if they're out there doing something similar, we should be, or you're doing it already, maybe something we should look
It's
at.
mostly, their funnel is mostly through the capital grants. That's usually where if you qualify for that, then they'll talk to you about what project are you doing, have you considered tax exempt project as well? So for us, you know, a different example could be, you know, one of our other, you know, loan programs or other workforce development programs, making sure that those contacts, if you're understanding what they're doing and what they're needing, what they're planning for, but then maybe you also mention in the future, you know, if you want to look at tax exempt debt as a financing tool.
Yeah, there's a small sample for that. I mean, it's the big hospitals, it's the universities, it's the charter schools. If there's any other industries that want to do that, they would have to learn that through maybe some of our other offerings. And I guess this is what you're talking about in terms of a marketing plan, is that we make sure that that's in there when we say all of the stuff that we do, you know, and it's not just isolated as possibly as it was before, and it never comes up in a conversation. Is that what we're saying, Barry?
Yeah, I think it's important, obviously the county, you know, not only the economic development arm of the county is gonna have a lot of touch points with a lot of different not-for-profits. And, you know, making sure that the message of what MCIDC can offer as far as long-term, low-cost financing, is presented. Because you may not need it right away. Some of the charter schools that we talk to, we're still in the early stage, right? They only have 2 or 3 grades, and as they work up to get to a full, either lower school or upper school. And so at that point, they're not ready for permanent space. They don't have the finances or credit to do that yet. But understanding that we're still available for them when they're ready, right?
And if you have to push somebody over the edge, you can tell them just what you've done. You can show them the picture.
Right.
You can show them the landscape of Rochester where our money, billions of dollars, have gone into making sure that these facilities were able to grow.
Right.
I wanted to ask a question on the first phase. Once again, are you saying that we're gonna spend 2025 doing all 4 of these bullets right here to try to get these things enhanced and understood?
That's the goal.
Okay, all right. So, just for example, evaluate workforce development program. What tool are we gonna use to do that?
So, first and foremost, I think we need to.
Because I got a point here. I mean, we used to do workforce development. And we let that go and, shifted it back, to Rochester Works.
Right.
Now Rochester Works is not meeting what his concerns are, right? But when we had workforce development up under our roof, concern like this would come up and we would begin to tackle that as, up under the, workforce model we had here and go and, address that. Where there might not be enough electricians and stuff like that, in order to, do a thing, we would really put the emphasis on that. I'm not understanding in workforce development today, in Rochester, where we're doing anything like that. And so I don't know if it's considered, and you might wanna say this here to, the folks across the street, they might consider bringing that back if this is an issue in terms of what he's saying. I'll just say that. But, the workforce development programs that are around here, when you do evaluate and assess these things, what is gonna be the next step for us? I mean, what type of recommendations are we gonna make?
Right.
Because, to Phil's point, we don't wanna be all over everything because we can't be everything for everybody, so.
No, I think our goal primarily is to streamline what we support and focus only on those programs that are most impactful. So I'm thinking about the BOCES programs where we've had a lot of success, the SAME program, the CDL program. We wanna focus our efforts where they're working. We're not as cash flush as Comida. So Comida has developed a workforce development fund and has been throwing a lot of resources at a number of different organizations and programs. Perhaps there are instances where MCIDC is approached to support something, or we already have something in hand as part of our portfolio, and we can migrate that over to Comida. Or perhaps there are some programs that really just don't meet our objectives, and we want to sunset those programs. But really the goal with that bullet is take inventory, track metrics, and work with Greg and work with Barry and the staff to figure out, and the board to figure out what's the highest and best use of our resources in workforce development. To your point about.
And it's not gonna take us a year to define the revolving.
No.
No, we're ready to go on that one. actually.
Yeah. Robin and Allison, do you have any additional thoughts to share about assessing the workforce programs?
So this is my thought, that what you're talking about is more like enhanced strategic partnerships, kind of like a phase 2 type thing, like can start now, but what the idea behind this bullet and phase 1 is we have several small workforce development programs that we currently fund. One's a job training where we will reimburse a company up to 50% if they're sending employees to third-party training centers, certifications. We also found, then there's, what I'm thinking right now.
There's like, it's all upskilling.
It's upskilling, and we know that Rochester Works is doing some of these exact same programs, we just found out. We have a partnership, a program with MCC, where if you go through the MCC Applied Technology Center and you get hired through the Rock and Flame, and there's we will give $1,500 to the employee and $1,500 to the business. And the first thought on that is, when that was created, however many years ago, businesses were looking for workers. Reverse that.
Right.
But like the businesses are dying for workers right now. They don't need to be incentivized to hire right now because they can't find employees. So why are we giving $1,500 to the employer? These are just all things that we're going through. So that bullet is meant to focus on our existing little programs.
I see.
And are they doing what they should be doing, and should we even be doing that? Or is there something different, like Joe mentioned, to focus on specific training? So that's really what that was about.
Do we regularly meet with like the Rochester Chamber or even One Rock, which was Rock 2025, or any of those things about what they're doing in the policy?
Yes, I'm in the One Rock Leadership Group, and I participate in chamber programs, and staff, economic development staff does as well. We also have a formal relationship with the chamber around our MWBE certification program. So the short answer is yes, but it's across a number of different, there's a number of different touch points and seats at various tables, you know? But it's a good suggestion to be more strategic in working with the chamber on, you know, soliciting suggestions from the business community and working with them strategically to get their input on our modernization plan. We are gonna be working directly with the chamber as the county finally updates its comprehensive plan in 2025. And we also have a formal partnership with the chamber around our retain program. It originated as an MCIDC program, then it became MCIDC and COMIDA, and now we fund it through the chamber, which operates and staffs the Campus Rock initiative. So I think that represents the most formal example of where there's a strategic relationship and partnership. But I think the goal in 2025 is to really get strategic and organized about the relationships that we do have, and the improving and strengthening those that need to be strengthened.
So any more questions for him?
Not a question, but, if we do go the route of evaluating all workforce development programs, I know you mentioned we probably wanted to stick within Start in House. Center for Governmental Research a couple of years ago put together a landscape of workforce development, and I think between 300, 400 workforce development programs in Rochester. So they have that data, you won't have to start from zero. But I can make that connection and try to get that reported.
Thank you, yes, I'm familiar with that body of work.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. We do work with CGR. CGR's been commissioned to do some work for the county, through the years, and they have a wealth of resources over there, so that's a great suggestion. Thank you. I think that initiative helped to inform some of what Rochester Works is currently doing.
Right.
And to Hanif's point earlier, the county does have a very close relationship with Rochester Works, but it's a complicated relationship.
Yes.
And so, we're doing some soul searching and housekeeping to improve that and bring it to a place where it makes more fiscal sense for both organizations. But this will be a big undertaking, and it's a priority into 2025, and I appreciate you lending your ears and your questions, and we'll certainly be keeping you all informed as we get this underhand in the next month or so.
Any more questions? Okay, next bullet here, we would like to add, Robin on as a signer, to the corporation. I'm gonna
So
let
moved.
Barry. All right,
Second.
okay. Hold on, let me see here. I guess all I have to do is sign it, right?
Yeah.
But Barry, just give us an overview of that.
Sure.
Because it's
This
a
is-
legal document now.
Yeah, it's just a resolution to add Robin as an authorized signatory for MCIDC. You know, with Anna's responsibilities in marketing and traveling and everything else, and obviously all board members being volunteers, sometimes we need signatures and we need them relatively quickly. Having a backup is just a best practice. So if Anna or Henny are unavailable for whatever reason, Robin could sign.
So moved.
Second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Robin, you got your work cut out for you.
I can handle it,
I think you're gonna be signing a lot this year.
but nothing SBA related, that's all
Correct.
total.
Yeah, just MCIDC is in its normal.
You don't wanna ask.
No, I don't wanna.
One last thing here is that, we have, our schedule, for next year. And, our annual meeting is gonna be, next month. Is it gonna be right here?
It will be, yes, on
Okay.
January eighth.
January 8th, all right. I mean, we used to go all over the town.
That's right, we did. My predecessor.
We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, we know.
That was before the Christmas holiday, we don't do that anymore.
And we'll send out calendar invitations.
We also have SBA loan file review on the agenda for today. Does that need to,
No, it's just a, FYI, that
Oh,
you'll be
okay.
hearing more in January.
okay, sorry.
You got Tony excited over
I
there.
wasn't sure what we were gonna say. We went through a loan, a targeted loan file review, they call it, back in June. We just, within the last couple of days, finally got the formal responses to that. And then we have to respond back within 45 days, and the board needs to be aware of everything and sign off on something.
Right. So that'll be
so
on the
it's just
docket
some
for
pre-
January.
And this targeted loan file review thing is, I think it's something fairly new in addition to their other reviews. I was on a call yesterday, they showed the number done in '24, and they're doubling that number in '25.
Okay,
But it's a real picky, let's look at your loan file, oh, do you have this, oh, you didn't get
Okay.
that. Type of stuff, and we'll be putting a formal response together and providing you guys that information to look at.
so we'll report back in January and then the board will be asked to sign stating that they're familiar with the report.
All right. Is there anything else? We need a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All right, all in favor?
Hi.